Hey guys, welcome to Rosie's Dessert Spot. In this episode I'll be teaching you how to make the Sorting Hat Harry Potter cake. I've got my cake tin here and I'm spraying it with some vegetable spray and lining it with some flour, and this will make sure that the cake doesn't stick when it's done. This cake tin is in the shape of a dome, so it's usually made for the doll cakes. I'm adding in my chocolate cake recipe, which I'll have in the description box below with a link to show you how to actually make it. And that's a separate video that I have. Baked it at 180 degrees for about an hour and a bit. And I'm cutting it in two sections, just makes it a lot easier to get a straight edge because of the way that the cake rose. Take out those crumbs and reserve them for the top of the cake later on, and just cut away at that outer section of the cake because it is kind of floury and you'll be able to taste it, so it's just easier to take that off. And you'll notice I'll also be cutting away at the cake just to make it a bit more level, a bit more rounded. And that excess of the cake we're going to put with the crumbs that we had before as well. Take off the top. And when you're ready, just continue to shave away the sides, making it nice and rounded and a bit more narrow as well. And then when you're ready, we can cut this in half. So I'm cutting it in half, and then I'm going to cut each layer in half again, and that'll make a nice tall cake. You could also use the red velvet recipe for this cake as well. And then I have my buttercream going in a standing mixer. Adding in my icing sugar gradually, letting that blend in, and then pop that on medium speed, add my vanilla extract or lemon extract in this case, and some milk. Beat it on high medium speed for about 1.5 minutes, and you should result in this beautiful creamy soft buttercream. Add some to your cake board and add in your cake layer, the first one, the largest one. Gonna pipe on my frosting and just continue to build the cake like that. On goes the next layer. And you can make these a lot taller as well by cutting those halves in half again. Might be overkill, but a tall cake is a nice cake, I don't know, that's my own opinion. Adding a layer of frosting around the cake where each layer meets, just to fill in those spaces. And that really helps the cake to maintain a very nice level outside look. Otherwise, if those air pockets remain, they could push outside of the edge of the cake and end up really lumpy looking. It just looks terrible. Then do one whole crumb coat over the entirety of the cake. And take off the excess. I put this into the freezer for about 15 minutes, and in the meantime we're going to start preparing our cake pop bowl. So I'm making those cake crumbs a lot finer, and I'm adding in my my lemon buttercream, and then I'm just going to knead that all together until we end up with this beautiful smooth clump of really nice cake bowl dough, as you can see here. And you want that to come together like that, and then we'll shape it into the top of the hat, make it nice and flat to sit on the cake, and just shape it into the rest of the dome. Try and make it really blend in. So I'm pushing down around the bottom edge of this cake bowl, and that'll have to blend it in and make it look like it's just one solid cake. Just like that. And then to make the tip of the hat, I'm just maneuvering it and just kind of pressing it all in, making it nice and compact, and tipping that tip of the cake sideways. Now for the fun part, we're going to start sketching out the face of this hat. So very roughly I'm just drawing in with a knife where it is that I want to cut the area. And I have a photo for reference here that I used on Google Images. So just roughly drawing his eyes, keep matching it up. And when you're happy with the result, you can start cutting it out. And you don't want that crevice to be too deep either, you just want it to be shallow. It will be enough that you can tell there's like an indent in your cake. Try and make it as neat as possible, but we'll go in with the buttercream later on and we'll smooth that all out. Do the same for the other eye. And just keep looking back and forth to make sure that it's nice and even. The eyes look the same. Next, cut out the mouth. And here I'm just scraping away, as you can tell, because most of it is the frosting area, so it's really not much to cut. Just kind of moving the knife back and forth just to make a bit of an indent. And then cover the whole cake in buttercream. And this will be our final layer of buttercream. It's not going to be as thick as you would normally put on a cake, but it'll be enough so that we can hide all those sort of indents and corners. We can just smooth it all off nice and neat. Add in the sections where you've cut out, and that'll smooth off that area as well and collect all the crumbs. And then from a spatula I've changed to this little tool here, and it's just the front cover of a portfolio, those plastic folders, and that'll help us to create a really smooth rounded look on our cake, because you can mold it into the rounded shape so it doesn't leave all those really rough edges, and it's just a really cool idea. I like it. Really inexpensive, you can make them yourself. We have to be a resourceful bunch in cake decorating. And just continue to smooth that out. I've got my spatula in the background. I'm just taking off the excess before I move on to the rest. And that cake pop that we had before, I reserved some and I've made them into sausages. These are going to help us to form the eyebrow piece for our cake, just that the eyebrow line, the lips, and also the creases around the cake. So you're not going to be guaranteed that when you put on the fondant you're going to be able to create all those beautiful creases like you see in the aged Harry Potter sorting hat cake hat. And you'll see what I mean in a bit. So just add where the lip is. That'll emphasize his mouth really nicely. And I'm adding just some extra ones on the side, and this will help us to create those aged creases in the hat, all those folds, just like so. And then put on your fondant. And it does not have to be neat. In fact, the messier it is, the better, because you want those creases to pop up and all those folds in your fondant, make it look a little more realistic. I'm pressing it in at the section where you have the eyes that we indented before, and also press around the sausages that you've made too, especially the eyebrow part. So you can see I'm trying to artificially make those creases, a little bit too smooth on that side. And just really press everything in. You'll find that in some areas the fondant doesn't reach or it just looks a bit messy. Just cover all that up. Here's an aged hat anyway, so looks normal. And take off the rest of the fondant. And fondant is pretty forgiving when this happens, so you can just press it down and cover up all those areas that might be exposed. Normally I'd use a fondant smoother for that, but obviously this cake's a bit weirdly shaped. I have some more of that brown fondant and I'm rolling it into a strip. I'm going to moisten the area around the cake and just stick that on, covering my cake board as well. And this is the easiest way I find to cover a cake board. I'm using a scissors or a spatula, just cut off the excess. And now we're going to create those pretty creases or kind of frayed edge of the hat. I'm going to use some cotton wool here, cotton buds, I think that's what you call them. and just pop some under the fondant. And when this dries, you'll want it to dry for maybe a good 6 hours, 8 hours. And that's how the hat will remain. And it looks really cool like that. I definitely wouldn't skip this step. To cover up our mess at the back, I'm adding a square piece of fondant and I'm just rolling onto it that pattern of, that stitching pattern with a stitching wheel. And that actually looks really good on the hat. It really adds to its age distressed look. And lastly, I'm going to airbrush in some details, just creating a little bit of shadow, especially near that eyebrow line where it begins, will be where you have the most shadow, and in the mouth as well. A bit darker in the centre, and as you move out to the edges, just make it a little lighter. You could always just use powder for this as well. And then lastly, I'm going to steam it all. And that'll take away any of the excess cornstarch that might still be on your fondant, and it'll give it a really nice overall clean look. Once that's done, remove the cotton buds, and you are done. That's how you make a Harry Potter sorting hat cake. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. I aim to upload 1 to 2 videos a week. It's usually one is a cake decorating tutorial, the other one is a dessert decorating tutorial. If you'd like to be up to date with when those are released, you can subscribe to this channel. And that's it. That's the cake for this week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Let's go ahead and cut this one open. Ooh. First slice is always the hardest. Woohoo! Yeah! Looking good, alright. Ouch. Not bad.